Hey folks, my name is Jürgen, aka Nerd and Proud of It, and Destiny has brought you to my channel today to talk about why Wizards of the Coast is not reprinting the commander cards you need. Yes, I think it's a very touchy subject because a lot of people say like, hey, we need those commander cards, please reprint them, they are too expensive. And a lot of people say, nah, we shouldn't reprint anything because it's a trading card game and that includes collecting, and that means you should not devalue any cards in specific. We are gonna look at a couple of cards. that's coincidence. I wanted to look at the Monocrypt anyways. But I also wanted to look at some counter spells, just as examples to talk about and to look up some prices or whatever. So we're gonna use these cards. Let's do the Tutor, the Mox Opal, of course, the Monocrypt. And I think Lithoform Engine is interesting as well because it's a rather new card that has gotten more and more expensive because it's a really interesting card to play with, in my opinion. I talked about the Ugin before. Let's not talk about the Ugin. And I talked about the Pathways before as well. What else do we have in here? Fetchlands. Yeah, let's talk about Fetchlands too. So, folks, the conversation will be about why Wizards of the Coast is not reprinting the cards you want and maybe the cards you need. Need is a big word in my opinion. I think you don't need cards, but you want them and you want them cheap and you want to use them in your deck, but you don't need cardboard to survive, so that would be a bold statement. But Monocrypt here is one of those cards Wizards is not reprinting often enough according to commander players in specific. So this card is sitting at around $170. Same goes for cards like Vampiric Tutor and Mox Opal. These are not reprinted enough according to players neither. Cards like the Vampiric Tutor are sitting at around $40-45. The Mox Opal is around $70. This borderless foil here is about $110. The Monocrypt, as I said, is around $170. So yeah, why is Wizards not reprinting these cards if people think they are too expensive to use in commander decks? It's very simple, folks. Wizards doesn't recognize the secondary market, but they are using the secondary market as a sales tool. Next set these cards are going to be in, they're going to be very scarce, like with the Monocrypt and Double Masters. It was difficult to get one, and it actually was the same for the Force of Will, also difficult to get, and therefore it's currently sitting at a price of around $110 probably. Nice card, cool card, but according to a lot of people not reprinted often enough. The Little Brother, the Pact of Negation, I think a very good card as well. You can get it for around $10-12 I think a piece. Mana Drain still holding strong at around $55. Yeah, always a good card. Was more expensive before, so that one got reprinted and actually dropped in price. And people, you are aware that if the Mana Drain would be reserved list, it would be $1,000 card, so easily. Lithoform Engine, also a very cool card. Only one printing, of course, in Zendika Rising. I always pronounce that wrong. Around $10 at the moment. I think in the beginning it was around $5, then it went up to 20, and then it found its price point at around $10. So yeah, the Fetchlands, very very easy story. Let's look at the Misty Rainforest, Nebliger Regenwald. In German, I got one German one, the rest of them is English. The Misty Rainforest was around $100 just 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Then it dropped to 80 because I think of the extra fetchlands in the secret lair. The ultimate secret lair, or how it was called, like the big one, and then of course they reprinted all these cards in recent sets, and it dropped to around $30. You can find one for $25 in good condition. that actually shows that if you reprint cards often enough, then they get really cheap. Cheap, $25 for a card is still very expensive. Or look at this one on top of the pile here. Birds of Paradise, always been around $10 because they get reprinted very often and they're still a strong card. But yeah, you will always pay around $10 for a good card, I think, even if they reprint it very often. In general, what people say is that you should reprint cards that are expensive and necessary to play very, very often. You can have your opinion about it. I'm happy. I mean, if it's not reserve list, it's fair game. That's as simple as it is. And a card like the Monocrypt here, it's currently very expensive because apparently it's scarce and not a lot are around in the market. But it will get reprinted and then it drops in value. So if you buy it for 170, I strongly would advise against it because these cards will get reprinted. On the other hand, the argument, of course, is that if cards hold value, the cards actually sell sets. So if there's a set with Monocrypt in there and the Monocrypt is not really in a lot of boosters. Look at the Monocrypt in the last set it was reprinted. Look at the Jeweled Lotus in Commander Legends. All these cards, we all thought they would be like at most a $20 card, but Wizards actually screwed us and just didn't reprint them, just didn't print them as much as other rares. There is a difference in rares. It's very simple, and you can see it, you can map it. There were certain rares you got in every other pack, and cards like the Jeweled Lotus you got in like I don't know how many packs. I personally haven't seen one around, and that's why the card is very expensive. The argument, of course, again, you can argue for it because you need it to play, and you see it with the fetch lands, the price goes down. But you could argue against it. A trading card game needs cards with value. There's a need for a secondary market, at least in my opinion. And again, disagree with me, totally fine. I'm not a Commander player. I don't mind. I personally bought the high-end cards pretty cheap when they just were reprinted, the high-end cards you saw here. And yeah, I actually could make a profit on modern cards, which is crazy because I'm going to keep my Monocrypt and I'm going to play with it. And at a certain point, they're going to reprint it so much that it's $30 again. And I should have sold it at 170 because I bought it for like 50, 60. I don't know. I looked it up and I made a video about it. Again, I will link to it at the end of this video. But personally, I think not everything should be free. And that's my opinion. And it's not... and you know, guys who know me a bit know I was around when Magic the Gathering almost died. And I was one of those guys who had Elder Dragons. And yeah, I paid a lot of money as a kid to get an Elder Dragon. And it was reprinted and I was fucked and I was really angry and I wanted to stop playing the game. And I wouldn't have bought any more high-end cards or boosters or whatever if the reserved list wouldn't have been established. So for me, that saved the game. I personally think it saved the game. And I think you should leave it as it is. And of course, Wizards is very smart and they're going to leave it as it is. Nobody's going to demolish the reserve list. It's very simple. You can always make more money if you leave the reserve list in place, especially from the players that are having older cards as well. And there are enough players with cards from that era. I think, again, my personal opinion, wouldn't be a smart move. The trust would be gone. Not the discussion here, but it ties in to the whole fact of Wizards absolutely knowing what they're doing. They're gonna keep certain cards scarce, and they're gonna keep the price high because in the next set they will reprint that card the card actually will sell the set. So Modern of Duel Masters, the Quadruple Masters, Double Master, Duel Masters, not Duel Masters. That's another Wizards game. I got a couple of cards of that game of Duel Masters as well. No, the Double Masters too. There's a big chance they're gonna reprint the Force of Will there, and it will drop maybe from 110 to like 80, $70. But if they do it as they did it with, for example, the Jeweled Lotus, that they will reprint it in a very low amount, and everybody's like, yeah, then there's going to be a big run on the Double Masters 2 boxes, and they're going to sell boxes, and still the price will stay high, or shortly after the release of the set, the price will stay high. So that's exactly why Wizards is not reprinting the cards you need. And again, personally, everybody is shouting, yeah, this needs to be cheaper and that needs to be cheaper and we need this card reprinted because the players need it. It's a fucking trading card game. Trade for it. So, yeah, it's very, very blunt, I know. And you know I am being a bit sarcastic. But personally, I think cards should have value. And I think it's good for the game if the cards have value. And if you are financially not that strong and you can't buy the cards, then you can't build the deck with it. That was the same in the early days. I was a kid and I couldn't buy the high-end cards in the beginning, and I lost. And that's how it goes. But that was part of the fun as well, because it was the chase and getting my deck better and getting better cards to move up in the rankings. And that for me was Magic the Gathering as well. And I know today everything must be free because everybody needs to have the same chances. But a very simple example for this. I want to drive a Porsche too, but Porsche is not going to make the Porsche cheap enough for me to buy it. And there will always be a certain percentage of people who are able to afford a Porsche, and I'm not one of them, but I can afford a cheaper car, and I'm gonna drive that, and it's driving just as fine. It's just that I can't play with the big boys when it comes to high-end automobiles, and maybe some people think that's a very mean opinion and they should have everything for free, but unless Wizards is giving a shit about the secondary market at a certain point and they're just going to reprint everything, and everything will be worth like 20 cents, which maybe the cardboard is worth itself, they won't do you the favor and reprint the cards you want to have. At least not in amounts that they will not be able to sell boxes anymore with certain chase cards. It's gotten a very long video, a lot longer than I want it to be, but I think it's a difficult subject. I would like to have a discussion with somebody in person about this that is actually explaining to me why these reprints need to happen, because it's a game. Yes, I know, but it's a game. You can still play the game without a Force of Will, and you can still have a nice commander deck without a Monocrypt. And you maybe can't be competitive, but honestly, are you playing Commander competitively? I don't know. I thought it was more like a fun format, right? Your kitchen table format created by the community and not by Wizards of the Coast themselves. So is it okay to ask for certain cards for a format the community created and the cards were not intended to? I don't know. I would like to have that discussion. It's a difficult subject. It's a touchy subject, and everybody has their own opinion. And I'm totally happy again if they reprint the cards to oblivion and everything will be cheap, because I'm focusing on the reserved list, and the reserved list is, in my opinion, very safe. So I don't mind if I buy a Monocrypt for $170. I need to know that there's a very big risk that they will reprint it this year, sometime in this year, and I will lose a lot of money. So yeah. And again, you can buy the cards. You at the moment you can buy the fetch lands for like $25. Just get 4. I mean, yeah, buy 4, collect the booster less, and buy 4 fetch lands for your decks. I don't really see the problem. There is enough money to buy shit, but if you buy certain cards, then every card needs to be cheap. So yeah, I don't get it. But that's me. Folks, sorry for the little rant here at the end. I just don't get it sometimes. I don't get why people get so upset about not being able to have certain cards at their disposal. You can't have everything. Everything has a price, and if there's no economy around the trading card game, then it's just a board game, and then you don't need rarities, and you don't need randomization, and you don't need the whole setup. So yeah, it's as simple as that. I wish you a very nice rest of the day. Let me think about how I will fill the last 5 minutes of rant with video I don't have. And I hope you stay healthy. I honestly hope you stay frosty. It's okay to disagree with me. I'm still all for having your own opinion. Totally, please disagree with me. It's fine if you think every card should be cheaper. I'm good with that as well. They're gonna do what they're gonna do. I have a different opinion. That's all. Doesn't mean we can't communicate on a normal level. Thanks for listening. Talk to you next time. Bye, folks.